Welcome everyone to another live stream here. Can't innovate my S anymore. No install, instant boot, read-only rootfs, snapshot, Linux distribution live experiments here with one of the most amazing Linux distributions. This is our T2, 30 plus architectures, and now some more innovation. Of course, all those components exist in one way or another, the Linux kind of stuff. Just some testing I was wanting to do some for a long time. If you want to see how our classic installer looks like, previous video, we did some kind of near final testing. Yes, our installer is text mode and there, which is also, I'm not the greatest fan of installers because ideally I wouldn't want to install. And 15 years ago, T2 already had one of the most amazing live CD implementations, which actually managed me to win some project work back in the day. So basically this is a continuation. So this is, I just booted this, so this is running here in QEMU with virt.io. And so what this booted is, so instead, so what's the idea is, idea is live CD, but on steroids, so that we don't have like getting away with all the installer because nobody wants a freaking installer and ours looks outdated anyway. So instead of making our installer better, no installer, booting a compressed read-only image of the whole base operating system and mounting some writable overlay file system layer on top of that. Of course, I'm aware there are some implementation details and stuff. So this is just the first rough test, right? Just fiddled a little bit around, init.rd and stuff, didn't bother to live stream. That's just some brainstorming. So what this gives you is you don't need to bother with garbage looking because also targeting Sun and headless servers and stuff installer. You will have potentially instant boot into the system with Wayland and Xorg and Firefox and what you would want to use. And if you mess something up, you just delete the overlay, or we have a boot option then potentially like boot without freaking overlay. So basically you can like wipe all the destruction you might have done. And you could have snapshot that, like of course you can snapshot that, but like adding this all on top, like if you use snapshot better FS, you could also not only like wipe this to install state, like basically like an Android smartphone reset to system factory default stuff, also like reset to last week's work, right? I'm aware, yes, other distributions of the 1989 have some of the features, but just wanted to experiment here. Why does it say no data when we are live? YouTube. No, whatever. And of course, so there are some, I mean, not only, I had already DH client, let's see. So basically let's test how much works. All right, the colors also look snare because we have here term, xterm color also, I guess. Oops, this was the monitor. What was the? All right, let's Google this QEMU switch virtual console from monitor. Oh, so much to key bindings. Control A1. No, I have serial console. QAC, what? I don't. Okay. Did I? Wait, no. QA. Is it 2 times? 2 times. Yeah, it's confusing. Yeah, so much to having QEMU similar key bindings to screen and Tmux. What could possibly be wrong? So let's see what actually works. Probably I should have resized. It's a serial console. I booted it with no graphics and stuff. Maybe not the ideal experimental prototype vehicle to show off Wayland, but that's what I did today for init.rd stuff and copy and pasting and so on. By the way, as per usual, before I forget some stuff, let's make some notes because as usual, there's a win-win, right? This already improved T2 as it is today proper, because hey, I moved recently stolen from airports SquashFS tools ng to file system, but also I wired up, because it is using SquashFS as a relatively compressed read-only rootfs, so that didn't have some options wired up. So wired up these options. I basically forgot. Did I forget to SquashFS tools? I forgot to update this. Also notice there's an update that data may or may not have missed or whatever. And also added this to the initRD, because we didn't have, like, we had old-fashioned, there were, like, it's probably the 5th overlay implementation. We had UnionFS and NG and 2 and AUFS for yet another Union and AUFS2. So, like, some years later, MK initRD also, alright, I need to revert this. Yeah, basically replacing old UnionFS stuff, which probably mostly deprecated with, which finally in upstream proper. So let's try to image some stuff. We have not tried this previously. I've seen already DH client gave me some get current working directory nonsense. So either it might very well, so it's the first test, right? But the problem is with also POSIX and other complexity may or may not. I'm also not like, basically I would also want to test, like, either does it work, how reliable does it work, what implementation deficiencies do we have, because the POSIX file system conformance is relatively strict. So yes, there are some gotchas with that. I also leave in the comments below which variant of all of this stuff you would be more interested. So let's see what happens if we like emerge sunlight stuff. So this is top of the T2 line. Why does it why does it build make? Why is not the latest make in there? Did I compress the wrong? Maybe I did not rebuild that. So yeah, this is on my to-do. All right, I wanted to add something on my to-do. So this is Lua stuff. You can ignore this. So we didn't get any warning, and that so far looked good. Let's image the kernel, because I'm also interested. What is the performance degradation? Although this is not entirely alright. Let's download. Let's image that. So we need force, because the latest version is installed or should be installed. Okay, this is also slightly newer. It's for the most part not really what I wanted. Of course, the performance will not be the same, because it is running in KVM. So there is some, even though it's near bare metal performance, of course. It's also complexity. There is some, there is some performance overhead, of course. Nowadays with nested paging and all the other virtualization assistant features, there is less of a performance overhead, but there is some performance overhead. But I booted with SMP32 and gave it quite some significant amount of memory, 32 gigs of my 64, and so yeah, obviously there is some 5 to 10 or whatever virtualization performance overhead. Now, of course, I get a phone call when I finally do the YouTube live stream. Back in a second. So yeah, of course, as usual, you want to make a phone call, you need to rush to the family. So can we wait 4 to 5? Maybe we have the time to see that. So in general, I would also next need to test with Wayland. So basically boot to. So there's the problems, of course, like power with modern Wayland. We're not booting into GNOME KDE desktop proper. We could even to support. There are multiple other things, like including, does your hardware, like if you target vintage and retro, does it support Wayland? Often, then of course not. We could of course test that. Is there enough kernel mode setting and DRM and stuff for Wayland? Otherwise, so basically, yeah, either start it, or then like if it's looking compatible, start some Wayland based compositor, and if not, or as fallback Xorg. And if it's some headless server or exotic Hewlett Packard Precision architecture, which with unsupported or mostly unsupported frame buffer, not even try that. Or either it looks compatible enough, but it will not work. This is also sometimes the case with super exotic HP visualize frame buffers. Previous video, there some year ago. So yeah, there are some things. I had some to do to note before I, as usual, try to entertain you and forget about my plenty of to-dos. It's not the super highest priority. So basically, there is this mbutil, and I used it today also further harden fix, because like Felix from Leitner's mbutils, like those renowned security researchers, they can't even write C parsers, command line argument parsing. Like yeah, 2023 or like the last 20 years, renowned world-renowned security researchers who for years said C++ is evil, C is amazing because you know your pointers. It's like, yeah, of course their stuff is crashing and infinite looping, right? So further, and I fixed already stuff right in there, but each time I use it, so basically fix on mutils mount dash o and other influ parsing, like you had one freaking job, right? And you bloody bug. Yes, we basically only use it for size and initRD. Maybe we should switch to Rust, maybe I should write my own, whatever. Maybe I probably should write my own microkernel. Oh darn. Not even, alright, control, tmax default bindings. Let's emerge btop. This will slightly change the benchmarking, which is mostly irrelevant in this case because this is so tiny that should build pretty instantly. Btop. Yeah, leave in the comments below what you think. Totally redo that, get away with an installer. But I mean, get away mostly with installer. Alright, also thank you very much, Cyril. How did this leak in there? Because so this is some strange default stuff that whatever, so much to that. Basically I wanted, but that probably, yeah, we are defaulting to auto. This is a little bit, might look a little bit strange to you because it's QA Moseri console with no terminal window resizing stuff in. Yeah, how far are we? But of course, the real test would be to actually use it in production for your desktop and see how much stuff really breaks, how many tools and exotic details get irritated, and regressions and bugs and so on. And if you have experience with other Linux distributions, like if you have used similar stuff in other Linux distributions, leave your comments, experience below. Oh wait, did I somehow, don't tell me I know, fat fingered that. No, I should not have fat fingered. Hello, what's going on here? Interrupt ADA? What GCC? What did I... this is just wait, what's going on here? Or ADM logs? We should have 9 log. Oh, this is done. Oh, it just finished. Just finished so far. Okay, it's not that much slower. I mean, this virtualization overhead, the local build time, it might be in log. Okay, 429, but others were faster. I'm not sure. I might have other stuff. So I built it. So usually what was my other time? Was this the best time? I lose overview of my kernel timings. Anyway, something of that sort to, it's actually not really that much slower, not even running in KVM. I expected more of a performance regression. Interesting. Yeah, so far so good. It does something. And so the only other thing would be network booting, right? Last but not least, for Sun, Spark, all the RISC workstation and stuff, where we would want like SJ Octane or other SJ02 and testing. So we would need, we probably can YOLO that of having a HTTP. I would need to check what is in the Linux kernel, certainly with Fuse. It's of course totally crazy, right? I mean, it could fetch the whole, it would fetch all the packages anyway, so we could simply curl wget the whole thing as like installation is loading, copying obviously, and then one network copy, like booting what we have, all the network boot stuff, and instead of all the installer and mounting and stuff, like fetching the whole ISO, dumping this squashfs onto the partition, setting up the overlay and kexec or rebooting and calling it a day. Anyway, leave in the comments below. So far looks interesting. Of course, I'm aware with all the POSIX like extended attributes, whatever moves, delete and whatnot. And of course, after 15 or 20 years of overlay file system research, some stuff should work, but there's certainly many devils in the details. Leave in the comments below. Have a good day and night, and I'll see you soon for the next fun stuff hacking. And maybe I make a poll on the More main channel there regarding instant read-only root and snapshotted stuff and so on. See you next time.